Hello students, today I welcome you on behalf of Rasa International School. Today we will continue our topic Force and Pressure of class 8th chapter number 11, which is on your book page number 152, and we will today study from page number 152 to 155. Under these pages we will cover the following topic and we get to understand what actually they stand for. The first topic is contact force, which include muscular, mechanical and frictional force. And the second topic is non-contact force, which include gravitational, electrostatic and magnetic force. Basically, contact force and non-contact force lie under the category of types of forces. So let us start with contact force. So the topic which we are discussing is under the chapter number 11, force and pressure. Now the types of forces, the first type is contact force. Now what is contact and non-contact force? So first we discuss about contact force. When we kick a football, a force arises due to interaction between our foot and the football. Means वो फोर्स जो फोर्स किसी दो ऑब्जेक्ट के कांटेक्ट पे आने पे ही ट्रांसफर होती है उसको हम कांटेक्ट फोर्स कहते हैं. सो व्हेन वी किक अ फुटबॉल अ फोर्स अराइजेस ड्यू टू द इंटरेक्शन. तो वो फोर्स जब दो ऑब्जेक्ट कांटेक्ट में आते हैं और वो फोर्स पैदा होती है मींस अराइज होती है ड्यू टू द इंटरेक्शन बिटवीन आवर फुट एंड द फुटबॉल. सो देयर इज अ कांटेक्ट बिटवीन फुट एंड द फुटबॉल. सच फोर्सेस विच रिक्वायर्ड फिजिकल कॉन्टैक्ट, ऐसी फोर्स जिनको फिजिकल कॉन्टैक्ट की रिक्वायरमेंट है उनको हम कॉन्टैक्ट फोर्सेस कहते हैं. ओके, सो however there can be even be an indirect contact between the interacting bodies. For example, to shut a door we may push it with a stick. ऐसा भी हो सकता है कि हम फोर्स का इनडायरेक्ट कांटेक्ट लाएं. जैसे अगर हमें दरवाज़ा बंद करना है तो हम क्या करेंगे, हम एक स्टिक का यूज़ कर सकते हैं और उससे उस डोर के ऊपर फोर्स लगा सकते हैं टू क्लोज इट. सो दे आर सेइंग दैट बट देयर इज अ कॉन्टैक्ट बिटवीन द स्टिक एंड दैट ऑफ द door. Okay, so this is also lie under the category of contact force, though we are not directly touching the door, but we are applying the force on the door by the help of the stick which is in actual contact with the door. Now the forces are also contact forces are further been divided into subcategories, which are muscular force, mechanical force and frictional force. Okay, are the some examples of contact forces. So let us see the image so we are able to get more clear about what contact force actually is. Now here you are able to see that the first is muscular force. Here a person is lifting a weight. Okay, so for lifting a weight he must have the actual contact of his hand with the weight, and he is applying the which force, muscular force, through the muscles. Okay, second, in the second figure you are able to see the mechanical force. Here the boy is taking out water from the well. Now for that he is applying the force on the rope, and the rope is further connected to the pulley which change the direction of the application of force and is doing a mechanical work. Third, the frictional force is also a contact force which is between two surfaces which are in contact with each other. Here the two surfaces are, first is your ground, okay, and second the skateboard which is having wheels which are in contact with that surface. So there are the contact force in these three categories. One is muscular force, second is mechanical force and third one is frictional force. They all lie under the category of contact forces because here we need an actual contact with the body for the force to arise. So that is why it is known as contact force. Now we discuss them in detail. First is the muscular force. a force that requires the action of muscles. Okay, the force that requires the action of muscles. So this is very important. What? The action of muscle of our body is known as muscular force. Means जो हमारी body की muscles के action से जो force आती है, okay, means उसमें हमारी muscles force लगाती है, then it is known as muscular force. So the activities such as pushing, pulling, throwing, kicking, lifting, running, jumping or bending our body are all examples of muscular force. While applying a muscular force on an object, our body has to be in direct or indirect contact with the body. So this is very important. Why? Because it is lie under the category of contact force. So whenever you are discussing about contact force, there should be direct or indirect contact between the two bodies. Okay. Now, thus muscular force is also a contact force. Animals also use the muscular force to move around, carry people or pull load. Frictional force. You must have observed the ball rolling on the floor, slow down and finally stop on its own. तो हमने देखा है कि अगर हम कोई बॉल देखते हैं वो रोल डाउन हो रही है, ओके, फ्लोर के ऊपर, तो एक टाइम आएगा कि वो अपने आप स्लो होएगी और एक टाइम होगा कि वो स्लो होते होते फाइनली रुक जाएगी. ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है? बिकॉज द फ्रिक्शनल फोर्स इज एक्टिंग ऑन इट, and frictional force is always act in the opposite direction of the motion. जिस डायरेक्शन में मोशन हो रहा है उस डायरेक्शन के अपोजिट डायरेक्शन में फ्रिक्शन फोर्स एक्ट करती है. ओके, similar we can have an example. A bicycle eventually comes to rest when you stop pedaling it. तो अगर हम एक जो साइकिल और एक बाईसाइकिल हम चला रहे हैं और उसके हम पेडलिंग स्टॉप कर दें, we stop the pedaling, then what will happen? The cycle or the bicycle slows down and it will finally come to rest. Also we find that it is difficult to push a heavy object or a box across the floor. किसी भारी सामान को पुश या पुल करना हमारे लिए डिफिकल्ट होता है एक फ्लोर के ऊपर. ऐसा क्यों होता है? This is all because of the frictional force which is acting between the two surfaces which are in contact with each other. In this case, we are not applying any external force to slow down it or stop it. In both the cases, when the ball is rolling down on the floor or we stop pedaling the bicycle which is moving, then we are not applying any force to slow down or stop it, but it still slows down and then finally come to rest. It appears that there must be a force which is acting between the surface which are in contact with each other, between the surfaces of the ball or bicycle tire and box and the floor or road. So that force is frictional force. This force slows down the moving object and prevent the objects at rest from moving. Okay. The direction of this force is opposite to the direction of motion. This is very much important, that frictional force always act in the opposite direction to the direction of motion. Such forces, okay, such forces are oppose the motion when the two surfaces in contact move or tend to move with respect to each other. Means suppose we want to move an stationary object like a box, a heavy box, we want to push or pull it along the surface, then this frictional force also does not allow it to move. So we have to apply an additional amount of force which should overcome the frictional force, then the object will be moving from its position. Until and unless the force which we are applying is less than the frictional force, it will not work for the object to move on. Okay, so frictional force can directly be called as friction also. So don't be confused. What is frictional force? It is friction. Okay, it is friction between the surface of a ball and the floor that causes a moving ball to stop. Friction between the surface of the bicycle tire and that of the ground is responsible for stopping the bicycle when we stop pedaling it. Similarly, the friction between the surface of the box and the floor prevents the stationary box from moving, as frequent friction requires a physical contact. What it requires? A physical contact between the surfaces, which are which in which the friction is acting. Okay, it is an example of contact force. Okay, now the next one is mechanical force. So we have seen in the starting an example of mechanical force where a boy is taking out water from the well, okay, with the help of a rope and a pulley. Now you must have seen a car moving on a road. Okay, so we are seeing that the car is moving on a road, but we have not seen that anyone is pushing it or pulling it. It is moving automatically. No, it is not moving automatically. There is an engine which either using fuel or electric energy to convert it into mechanical work. So here we see that how it actually going on, how the car is moving on, and what mechanical force is acting on it. So we start, how does it move on its own without being pushed or pulled? So this is very much important question. Without being pushing or pulling, how that car is moving on the road? It is the force applied by the engine of the car that enables it to move on its own. The force generated by a machine, for example, the engine of the car, is called mechanical force. Means the force which is being generated by a machine is mechanical force. Machine does not produce force on their own. So this is very much important question. Can the machine produce the force by their own? No. Machine cannot produce the force by their own. We must supply some kind of energy to these machines to produce force. So like in the starting we have discussed about the example that the boy is taking out water from the well with the help of a rope and a pulley. Now the pulley is over here. Pulley and rope combination is acting as a machine, and we are supplying an energy from the external, that is that boy is supplying the energy to the machine so that the machine is doing the mechanical work. Okay, so here in the engine, what is going on? The chemical energy like petrol, diesel, kerosene, okay, and different types of fuel. Like in these days, we are using CNG also. Okay, earlier we are using LPG also. So petrol is being used to produce the force which is used to run the motor of the car engine. Similarly, the blades of a windmill is basically work to generate the electricity with the help or with the utilization of wind energy. Okay, so the blades of the windmill use energy of the moving air to rotate and produce mechanical work. Now we are coming to the next topic is non-contact forces. Okay, so these forces does not require physical contact. So let us see how it works. First is gravitational force, second is electrostatic, and third is magnetic. Gravitational force is the force which is exerted on the body, okay, which has been there on the body due to earth gravitational pull. So here a person is falling freely under the influence of earth gravitational pull. So whenever we leave any object from some height, it always fall towards the earth's surface, or you can say that in exact way that it is moving towards the center of the earth because of the earth gravitational pull, and that is gravitational force. Second, electrostatic force, the force between the charged particles. Okay, means the electrostatic force is the force of attraction between the charged particles, or it may be of repulsion also. So it can be attractive or can be repulsive based on like and unlike charges that we discuss in next slide. Okay, so but first we have to know that it is the force about the charged particles. Magnetic force is because of the magnetism the magnet have, so it was able to attract the iron nail over here by the help of magnetic force. In every case there is no actual physical contact, but the force is acting on each other. So let us see how it works. So we are discussing now non-contact forces. So in the non-contact forces, what is actually is there is no physical contact. So here we see a leaf is falling from a tree towards the earth's surface, or an iron nail is moving towards the magnet, does not require any physical contact between the bodies on which they act. Such forces arises due to the interaction between due to the interaction between objects that are not in physical contact is known as non-contact forces. Is known as non-contact forces. Okay. Now there have been further examples, or the types of non-contact forces are gravitational force, magnetic force, electrostatic force are the example of non-contact forces. So let us see first gravitational force. So in this universe every object is attracting every other object, means इस यूनिवर्स में हर ऑब्जेक्ट दूसरे ऑब्जेक्ट को अट्रैक्ट कर रहा है अपनी तरफ. ओके, सो इन दिस यूनिवर्स एवरी ऑब्जेक्ट इज पुलिंग एवरी अदर ऑब्जेक्ट टूवर्ड्स इटसेल्फ, अपनी तरफ अट्रैक्ट कर रहा है, खींच रहा है. दिस फोर्स ऑफ अट्रैक्शन इज ग्रेविटेशनल फोर्स. ओके, दिस फोर्स डज नॉट नीड एनी काइंड ऑफ फिजिकल कॉन्टैक्ट बिटवीन दी ऑब्जेक्ट्स. इसके लिए कोई फिजिकल कॉन्टैक्ट की नीड नहीं है. ठीक है. So it is the gravitational force of the sun that, okay, so when we talk about the gravity of earth, that the gravitational pull of earth, so every object has its own gravitational force. Every object has its own gravitational force. For earth we say it as axle. Okay, so whenever the gravity is talked about of earth, it is the gravitational pull of earth. Similarly we have the gravitational force or the gravitational pull of sun that keeps all the planet what to revolve around it in a fixed orbit. वरना क्या होगा, हर planet अपने orbit को छोड़ के बाहर निकल जाएगा. Okay, so the gravitational force of the sun that keeps all the planet moving in the fixed orbits. Okay, similarly the earth also exert a force of attraction on all bodies and tries to pull them towards the center. सारे ऑब्जेक्ट जितने भी आप देखते हैं अर्थ के ऊपर, जो भी ऑब्जेक्ट गिरता है वो हमेशा सरफेस की तरफ जाता है. इफ इज as I told you earlier in the first example, that when we leave any object from certain height on the earth gravitational pull attract the body or object towards the center of the earth because of earth gravitational pull. Okay, so this is about gravitational force. Now we talk about the magnetic force, but before that we take some more example of gravitational pull. The gravitational force of the earth makes the leaf of the tree fall down on the ground instead of flying up in the sky. तो कोई किसी भी पेड़ से अगर एक from any tree, if there is a leaf is being plucked off and then leave it, then it will move towards the center of the earth or on the surface of the earth. It is because of earth gravitational pull. It will not fly in sky because there is a pull of earth gravitational force which allow it to move in a particular direction. In fact, our weight is the gravitational force of the earth acting on us. Without the gravitational force we would fly off into the space. अगर अर्थ का ग्रेविटेशनल पुल नहीं होता तो हम लोग फ्लाई कर रहे होते, हम लोग स्पेस में चले जाते. क्यों? जो अर्थ का ग्रेविटेशनल पुल है उसी ने हमें बाइंड करके रखा हुआ है, so that we are able to be on the earth's surface. Otherwise we will be flying away into the space. Now what about magnetic forces? What happen if we bring a magnet closer to a iron nail? It cling or get stick to the magnet. Which force is responsible for that pull which is acting on the iron nail? Okay, it is the magnetic force of magnet that attract the iron nail towards it. तो वो कौन सी फोर्स है जो आयरन नेल को मैग्नेट की तरफ अट्रैक्ट करके ले गई, वो है मैग्नेटिक फोर्स। ओके, सो यहाँ पर कोई एक्चुअल फिजिकल कांटेक्ट नहीं हुआ, लेकिन फिर भी फोर्स ऑफ अट्रैक्शन फील हुआ। ओके, so what would happen when you bring two magnets closer to each other? There may be two possibilities. One, the pull and the push to each other. So I told you in the starting itself, the magnetic force can also be attractive as well as repulsive, depends upon the poles you bring closer to each other. So similar poles or like poles repel each other. Unlike pole or dissimilar poles attract each other. Okay, so here we have two poles, one is the north pole and other one is the south pole of the magnet. So okay, so if we have a bar magnet, okay, and it has two poles, one is the north and other one is the south. So actually the magnet has two poles, north and south. When the north pole of the magnet is brought near to the south pole, means opposite poles, then they attract because they are unlike poles. This shows that the unlike poles attract each other. When we brought closer the north pole to the another north pole or south pole to the another south pole, they will repel each other. Okay, so the magnetic force can be both attractive as well as repulsive. This should be kept into mind, that the magnetic force can be attractive as well as repulsive. Now, electrostatic force. An electric charge develop on the surface, okay, of certain body when we rub it against each other. अगर हम किसी एक बॉडी को किसी दूसरी बॉडी के अगेन रब करेंगे, घिसेंगे, तो उसके ऊपर चार्ज डेवलप होगा. These charged bodies exert a force, okay, on other charged or uncharged body. ये जो चार्ज बॉडी हैं, ये दूसरी अनचार्ज या चार्ज बॉडी के ऊपर फोर्स एक्सर्ट करेंगे without being actual in contact with each other. This force is electrostatic force. This force does not require physical contact between the two bodies, thus it is a non-contact force. So, like magnetic force, electrostatic force could be both attractive as well as repulsive. Opposite or unlike charges attract each other, whereas similar or like charges repel each other. Okay, there are two types of charges, one is positive and another one is negative. The force experienced between the electric charge is called electrostatic force. जो इलेक्ट्रिक चार्ज के बीच में जो फोर्स क्या होती है, फील होती है, एक्सपीरियंस होती है, उसको हम इलेक्ट्रोस्टैटिक फोर्स कहते हैं. Let us demonstrate this with an activity. Okay, so let us take two bodies over here. We have two inflated balloons, दो हमारे पास फूले हुए गुब्बारे हैं. Rub them along a piece of wool. Bring them closer to each other. They will repel each other because the balloon, after rubbing along the wool, they get similar charge. So the similar charge means the like charge repel each other. So when they have been closer to each other, okay, so what will happen, they been repel each other. But on the opposite side, if the piece of wool closer to one of the balloon, they get attracted because when the balloon is been rubbed against the wool get opposite charge as compared to that of the balloon, so they will attract each other. Okay, but if you bring the two balloons closer to each other, okay, so what will happen, they will repel each other, but the balloon and the wool will attract each other. This is because of the opposite charge. A charged body can also attract other charged body. For example, a plastic ruler gets charged when it has been rubbed through dry hairs. तो एक जो स्केल होता है प्लास्टिक का, तो अगर हम उसको अपने ड्राई हेयर्स पे रब करते हैं, so it is able to attract the small pieces of paper. Similarly, this charged comb, okay, attracts the small bits of paper which are uncharged. Clear? So today what we have discussed about force, it is two types, contact and non-contact. In contact we have discussed about muscular, mechanical and frictional, which are contact forces which need an direct or indirect physical contact between the bodies to act, whereas the gravitational, magnetic and electrostatic force are the non-contact forces which does not require any physical contact to act. Now over here you have the match the following. So we are able to trace them where which force is acting. An apple falling down from a tree because of the gravitational pull. Okay, so it is of A. Okay, then a football roll on the ground. So what is happening? A football is rolls on the ground when you are applying what? Contact force. So here the contact force is, which type of contact force we have? Magnetic is not, muscular yes, electrostatic is not, mechanical is not contact force, and frictional force. But muscular force, when we applied with the help of the kick, then the ball will roll on the ground. A nail cling to the magnet. A iron nail cling to the magnet means एक iron nail magnet से जाके stick हो गई, किस वजह से? Magnetic force की वजह से. So the answer is C. Similarly, a bullock pulls a cart. So here, why it has been over there? Because of the mechanical force. Okay, mechanical force, that is of D. Then bit of paper attracted. Okay, bit of paper attracted to the charged ruler. So its answer is E, because of the electrostatic force. Force employed by the machine parts. What happened? Actually, the machine parts are been rubbing to along each other, or they are in contact with each other. So there is a frictional force. So for the F, the fifth one is the answer for F. Clear? Now, thank you. The admissions are open in Rasa International School. You can contact on mentioned number on your screen for admission from class playgroup to class 9th. Thank you. Stay safe at home.